It's time to wander the world with Sharon. Enjoy this Big Blend radio podcast featuring award-winning travel writer and photographer Sharon K. Kurtz. Welcome, everyone. Today, you know what? We're talking about Fiji. You know, it's February, so why not do Fiji? What? Like thinking of Friends, that wonderful sitcom, Phoebe from Friends. No, but when you think about Fiji in the middle of winter right now, how many of us want to go to a tropical paradise? I think all of us do. If you're freezing cold like we are, um, it is amazing to me that you went there in just like one flight out of Dallas, Sharon. So welcome back. And, you know, that's pretty amazing. Fiji, just get on a flight from Dallas and you're there.
It is incredible. Well, it's always a good time to spend time with you, Lisa. And it was the most amazing experience. Fiji Airways has about 3 points in the US where it flies to Fiji. One was Southern California, but Dallas was the first one toward the middle of the country. And so I was invited to be on their inaugural flight in December. That was the very first flight, of course, from Dallas. It's 13 hours, but it's direct. You
Wow.
you leave late in the evening. You literally have a glass of wine, you have a meal, you put your earbuds in, and you go to sleep, and you wake up in Fiji.
Wow. Okay. So you look like you had a good time on the plane itself. I think you had some champagne in your hand. Was it champagne?
Yes, this flight was very special. They had the ambassador to Fiji on the flight and his wife. They had the ambassador for Fiji that works in Washington, D.C., and there toward the end, we were very lucky that we were invited to be in the business class cabin. And all of a sudden, there was a huge cake brought out, and celebrations and champagne and speeches about Fiji, and it was really an amazing time.
Well, you think about where Fiji is, right? So it's in the South Pacific, but do
Yes.
we all know exactly where it is? And your article, and everyone, it's linked up from blendradioandtv.com. You can see it in the episode notes, and also go to sharonkkurtz.com. Um, you say there's 330 islands, which I had
Yes.
no idea. And I think that's where we all just see these little things out on the ocean and we don't realize, oh, these are all this is all that. But 330 islands, are they all accessible to travelers or like
No, there are two main islands. The biggest one is Viti Levu. That is where you fly into, and that's where most of the people live. Then there's an island called Vanu Levu, two big islands, but there are only about a few that are inhabited of those 333.
wow. So a lot of them are little, more nature, maybe indigenous
Yes,
people being there and not necessarily like, hey, y'all, bring your boat.
yes. And you get around from place to place by either helicopter or seaplane, or they have a couple ferries or private speedboats. So when we landed in Nadi, our first destination was going to be to the Manolo Lanai Island. It's in the Mamanuca Islands. You'll see it
I'm glad
on
you're saying all this.
Mamanuca.
Yeah.
So we took a helicopter. It was like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I know I'm dating myself, but it was like,
Yeah,
wow,
no.
you get out of the airport and they greet you. And Fiji is all about hospitality. They are one of the most hospitable people, which is surprising because, they were once cannibals, the native people. This was long time ago, but then they were a British colony for many,
Oh.
many, many years. And that's why they all speak English so well. Actually, when they go to school, English is the primary language that they learn because it's
Mm,
so important in life to learn English. And then they got their independence in 1970.
good for them.
So it's amazing that it's one of the only former British colonies that have always owned their own land. They've never been enslaved, taken over, anything. They're a very proud people. And to this day, they still own their own land. There are a series of villages,
Mm-hmm.
and each village has the land that it's on. And then all of the residents of these villages, for generations, they belong to that village. And if something like, let's just say the airport, Nadi Airport is built on village land. And so those peoples of that village get paid for the land use.
So let's talk about where you start. Where was your first destination? Because you stayed at three different resorts.
Yes,
Each one seemed to have a very unique way of being, right?
that's
And
exactly right.
amenities. Yeah, each one was conservation focused. In fact, you went to the coral reef behind you. So
Yes,
this is a very new and special thing of what they're doing. And I wonder about like when we before we get to all that, the their lifestyle of understanding that everybody is part of this land.
yes,
So as a whole from your experience, it seems I know the islands are really when we look at climate change, the islands are so important and yet they want to welcome visitors. That's part tourism is part of life, right? And
yes,
economy. But climate change is also important. So it seems to me that your visit there, through everything you did, they included that as part of your experience, was that you understood like climate change, what they're doing for climate change, and how an island is impacted from climate change. It's almost like they want you to go away from Fiji, having a wonderful time, understanding their culture, understanding lifestyle and the nature, and going, y'all, we need to be better to the islands when it comes to
yeah,
climate change. Would you say that?
I would. To me, it was like being in what Hawaiian Islands must have been like 100 years ago. It was so, the culture is so important to them. In every resort we went to, the local people in the surrounding villages work in the resort, and they are very proud of their culture, and that comes first. And then sustainability, as you say. So we flew in a helicopter to our first resort. It was called the Lomani Island Resort, and it was adult only. Because we wanted an experience three different kinds of resorts. So Fiji is a very big honeymoon destination. It's
Okay.
beautiful. So this was adults only, but this is where that reef, the Bula Reef that you see behind me, that is, we went there. We went snorkeling on the reef, and we had a marine biologist with us telling us that saving the corals are so important in the world. And Fiji is the soft coral capital of the world. And they're known for their, just think, Fiji water. How many of us drink Fiji water? It's like the purest water on earth. So there you go. So we went out to this coral bed, and she showed us how. Behind me you can see little tiny corals on ropes. They go
Yeah.
out there and they plant little pieces of coral. It grows into a coral garden like on the other side. And so we went snorkeling, we saw it, and then from the air, bula is the most important word. It means so many things, but it means welcome, but it means um, we're happy you're here. Our culture is important to us. So it's got the words in coral, Bula, spelled out, and you can see it from space.
Oh, wow.
It is the largest word that they've created that you can look down and see out of corals.
Wow. Wow. And it seems like it's really like our culture is welcoming you to our home.
Yes.
That's kind of what it seems. It's interesting because in Kenya, the Swahili language would have a gazillion words to say one thing. It was like this whole explanation. And
Yeah.
growing up there, I had to learn as just, American girl, I needed to cut back on how I spoke because I would put everything into one sentence because I was like that was a primary language for me as a kid. So,
Wow.
so it was kind of like, oh, you don't need to tell everybody everything.
Yeah.
Well, I still feel like I do, but anyway. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, I've got the y'alls today. Well, you're in Texas, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But this is amazing to me that they're really looking at this planting of coral and
Yes.
really doing that. And how did they talk a little bit about the temperature of the water and how that, because they're working to plant, but is that changing as they plant, that they have to be aware of that? It's just like our gardens have to be, we have to be aware of the microclimates.
Yes. So as we know, that's why coral reefs all over the world are dying because the water temperatures are raising. So
Mhm.
in this particular project, it's called a coral garden. They replant uh, temperature sensitive corals that can withstand the temperatures. It's
Oh, okay.
like a modified new version of corals that can live in that ocean. And then when those corals get big enough, they replant them on other coral reefs. It's like
Mm.
a, a very important project.
Mm. Now, while you were there, we'll get to the resorts, but let's talk about some of the activities. I heard that you went on a wonderful adventure and where you found, hey, you went longboarding, on a boat,
Yes,
like a longboat or something, and then
yes,
you got to tell us about that, and then found this, little hidden waterfall.
it
That
was
sounds like
incredible.
tropical paradise to me.
It was. You've heard of Robinson Crusoe. It was kind of like being on a Robinson Crusoe adventure. So
Crusoe, Robinson Crusoe. Yes.
we were at the Nanuka Resort. That's the next one I'll talk to on the main island, and it's called the Adventure Capital. And there's so many adventure activities from this south of the island. So we went, loaded our little group up in a van, and we drove, oh, I think 20 minutes to this river, and we got on longboats, and we just went down the river on this longboat with mangrove forest on the
Mm.
rainforest on either side. And then when we stopped the boat and climbed the hill, we went up to a secluded waterfall. It was incredible. And so that land we were on was owned by a village. All the land is owned by a village. So in this village, the um, the young men who brought us there, they pay the village to bring us there to enjoy it. And there was a young man, one of the sons or of the men that took us. He actually would climb through the jungly area up to the top of the waterfall, and he must have 10 times did double somersaults into the water
Oh my gosh.
from up there. And one
Fun.
of the other gentlemen said, not everyone can do this. You have to be so careful. I mean, this
Yeah, I
young
know.
man was amazing, but anyone else, you take your life, you risk your life if you do something like that.
Yeah,
So it
I
was
think there's
amazing.
some of us who really have that in our genes to do, and some of us to just go, I'll take a picture of that,
Yeah,
or even try because it's so fast. But
yeah,
this is magical and it's interesting because here's a village, so it's kind of like a city government, if you want to put it in
yeah,
American standards, right?
right, right.
That you do this and you see these magical things, but then you had like a picnic on a sandbar. I haven't been on a sandbar since Kenya. We'd go out in Mombasa and Malindi area and go out on a glass bottom boat and then stop at a sandbar. And even South Africa, we had sandbars too. And we would go out, always go float out somewhere and get on a sandbar. And that's what we would do. And I don't know if we do that in this country. Do we? Do we
Well,
have sandbars? I think we do. Maybe in the
I don't know
Gulf.
where either, but in Fiji, they have lots of resorts on little tiny islands. And so this was Manolo Lanai Island in the Mamanuca Islands. So we took a boat from our resort and only like 15 minutes off of the shore, but it is like turquoise water every direction you look, 360 degrees. And we were coming up and we saw something white, kind of, we didn't know what it was. And we got closer, we saw it was a sandbar. So our host, a driver, pulled up on the sandbar. He unloaded for us umbrellas and chairs and a picnic lunch and left. And there we were, like in the middle of paradise. Everywhere you look is just blue water with very shallow water.
Hmm.
And we were there for about a couple hours. And as the time went on, the sandbar kept shrinking because
That's
the
the
reef,
tides coming in.
that's what the
Yeah,
tide does. And by the
yeah.
time he came back to get us, we had like a third left, less of the sandbar. That was the most amazing experience. Who would ever think you have an experience like that?
That is magical. I mean, this is so cool that you got to do this. And it was just like, hey, an overnight flight, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is so cool. So all the villages, but then you had an experience also where you got to learn how to cook and do some crafts, like local cultural crafts.
Yes. So we learned that the coconut tree in Fiji is called the tree of life because
Mm,
every single part of it is important. From the fibers they make rope. From the coconuts fall and they drink this wonderful coconut water,
mhm,
and the coconut meat makes like coconut milk that they cook with.
mm,
And then the leaves. So we actually learned to make baskets from the coconut leaves. And it was not so easy because the coconut leaves are quite stiff and you have
mhm,
to learn how, it's kind of like braiding your hair, like when
mhm,
you and so we made baskets. But then one of my favorite things is from our resort called Nanuka. We had a cooking class on the beach, and it was called a warrior cooking class. So our host, he is from a chief family, actually. He works at the resort. He used to be an engineer out on
mhm.
the ships, and he decided he wanted to be closer to his family and his kids. So now he works at the resort as a cultural ambassador. So he was in complete Fiji garb, bare chested, uh, grass skirt, a banana leaf headdress, and he taught us how to make two dishes. One was prawns. We got a bamboo uh, piece of bamboo, and we
Mhm.
put in it prawns and coconut milk and vegetables, and then he sealed it with the leaf and put it in the fire. So that was broiled, steamed a fish
Mm.
dish. And then we made the type of ceviche, cocota, they call it. So that was amazing to be right on the beach to have completely fresh, uh,
Mm.
planted right nearby and from the sea food.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I mean, just to be able to have like that's like boat to table. Like,
Yeah, it was.
you know.
And then right there on the beach, he had a half of a coconut, and that was our bowl. So he would strip the bamboo, he would pour out the steaming, wonderful, fragrant meal into a coconut half, and you would eat it right there with a piece of coconut shell as your spoon.
See, sustainability right there.
Yes,
Use with what you have, right?
yes,
Oh,
exactly.
but that's just so like just relaxed to me.
Well, he also told us so much history. Like, this is how the Fijian people lived for centuries. They look around them, they see a coconut on the ground, they fish from the waters, they plant yarrow and other root
Mm.
plants, and that's how they live. And so to this day, do you know Fiji is one of the blue designations, the healthiest
Oh, the blue
places
zone.
in the
Yeah.
planet. It's in the blue zone.
Wow. So people are living chilled out.
Yes.
Doesn't feel like from your article and just the conversation that they're very hustly bustly. Seems kind of
No, they're
relaxed.
very chill, uh, and they're so hospitable. To them, family, like a village is a family. That is
Mm.
your family. And then when they come to us in the resort to teach us about their culture, they'll be hugging you, they'll tell you your family, and when you show up at a resort, they sing to you. They greet you, they sing to you, and you feel so welcome. And then when you leave, there's a
Mm.
very special song that they all gather and sing, and little like we're in tears leaving
Mm.
this place. And they're so it's a culture that's really hard to put into words, but it's special.
Spiritual. Yeah. So they understand. So you said at the Sofitel Fiji Resort and Spa, and
Yes,
this was kind of like that's very family friendly, but like luxury. And then you said at Nanuku. I just want to say these names, and that's a 500-acre private estate. Ooh,
yes. So
ooh,
Nanuka was the one where we took the longboat to the private waterfall. It's called
ooh.
the Adventure Capital. So that
Mm,
was a resort that was very family friendly. but they had some large villas where you would bring your whole family, extended family, and they have a nanny service there that you can take your kids to camp every day, and they can camp on the beach, and they do their crafts, and so it's very family friendly. But then
That's cool.
the third resort we went to is called Sofitel, and that is close to the airport, 20 minutes. So it's a perfect place to go to first when you arrive to kind of get acclimated, or when you're ready to go home and you stay there a night or two before you get on the plane. And it's a French hotel, so everything was Fijian twist, kind of French Fijian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's family friendly, but it's also, they have a separate adults only club there where adults, maybe you're on a honeymoon, maybe you don't want to be splashing around with in the pool with the kids. So you have all these uh, cocktails at sunset and
Oh,
all kinds of
okay.
special things.
I like the cocktails at sunset.
Yeah.
I
Who,
mean,
who
who
wouldn't?
doesn't? So that was the one I know I mentioned it before, but yeah, this is so it's adults only, but it does have like family friendly stuff, but it's
Yes.
really
It's
more
kind of, it has both at the
a little
feet
bit of
at,
everything. So
yes. And it,
Lamani is the one that's adults only, right?
yes, and that
Mm.
there's only 30, they call them berets. It's kind of like a Fijian house. And at Lomani, there are only 30 of them. And so it's very secluded and private if you want to be private. Beautiful pool, all these activities. And so my beret had on the patio, um, it's really not patio, it's all redwood covered, and a private plunge pool and a big yard with umbrella goes right to the beach. So just imagine if you're there and it's your honeymoon and it's private, you have your own like paradise, your
I
own little
want that.
private pool.
I
Then,
don't need to get married for that. I just want
yeah,
that for
I know.
me.
Hey,
Like I
I
don't need
enjoyed it.
anyone there. I just want some time out, y'all. Just give me some
Yeah.
quiet space and the ocean.
Yes.
I mean, it just, even snorkeling had to be magical and the food, when you're in these tropical places, you tend to eat lighter. You still need to eat. You've got sunshine, so you got to watch that, right? Something I really need to learn in life is to keep my face out of the sun, but that's just a little too late now. But but understand that, but it just is like it's kind of a healthier, like you say, it's a blue zone, of health.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, does it feel that way when you're there that you're really enjoying yourself, but you're not rushed to do
Right.
every activity? That
Right.
I think we do that as travelers, and it's good to,
Right.
you know, if you have five activities, do one or two and do them well.
This was a very chill place. Every
Mm,
place we went, and the local people that work there, they're chill too. So yeah, there's no hustle bustle.
I need that. Thank you. You've chilled me out for the day.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do another recording after this because I
You're
just
gonna have
feel
to take a
chilled.
nap. Hmm.
The sun's coming out, but there's snow outside. So I don't think I'm going to be out there playing Fiji, but it sounds, so really easy to get there. A long
Yes.
flight, but comfortable, right? You had room for your legs and all of that.
Yeah. It's just, look
Mhm.
at it this way. If like in Dallas, where I'm from, the area, uh, oftentimes people like to go to Hawaii for a tropical vacation, but this is just 3 hours further, and it's direct,
Oh,
and it's a culture. It's oh, and also it's very affordable. Fiji
oh,
is
that's
like
important.
the prices, like if you planning a big trip to Hawaii, and then you compare what you get in Fiji and what you get in Hawaii, it's like that might
Ooh.
make a big difference. It's very
Hmm.
affordable travel.
So people check it out. Check it out
Yes.
for sure. So again, everyone, Sharon's got a great article up on blendradioandtv.com. You can also go to Fiji.travel and FijiAirways.com. Click the English part as well. But all the links are in their article. And man, I'm so glad you get around. So
Yeah.
as we're recording now, you're about to jump out to get on a plane again to go to Mexico and look
Yes.
at whales. So,
Yes. Going whale
wow.
watching. I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, we can't wait for you to report back on that. The next time we talk with you, we're going to be talking Tahoe, Austin, Texas, where you are. We will be talking about whales on one of our Big Blend Radio Nature Connection channel. Then you've got New York City. So, like, wow, a lot going on.
Yes.
Good life. It's a
It's
good
going to be
life.
in 2025. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, and for New York City, I know so much is happening in New York State, and right now it's the bicentennial of the Erie Canal, and next year is America's 250th birthday, and New York is getting pumped. It's ready. It's also the World Cup soccer is going there. I mean, there's just a lot
Mm,
going on.
yes.
So you're part of it. You're going to
Yeah.
have fun in the Big Apple. Take a big
Yes,
bite. Take a
I
big
will.
bite. All right, good. All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us here. Sharon is here every first Wednesday of the month, and you can keep up with her at Sharon K. Kurtz, and that's Kurtz with a K.com, SharonKKurtz.com. She's on Instagram, Facebook, all those great places. Thank you so much, Sharon, and travel safe and say hi to those big, beautiful whales for us.
I will. See you next time.
Thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Wonder the World with Sharon podcast. You can keep up with Sharon's adventures at SharonKKurtz.com. Follow Big Blend Radio at BigBlendRadio.com. Happy travels!